Today we will study rickettsial infections. So when you think about rickettsia, what should come to your mind? That rickettsias are bacteria that are intracellular because they are genetically not so enhanced, developed, you could say, that they have to survive intracellularly to derive energy from the host cells. Okay? They produce characteristic triad of infections such as fever, headache and rash. This is common to all rickettsial infections, right? And they need one vector that through which they will be able to transmit from one human to another. Okay? This is common about all rickettsial infections. Plus, you cannot grow them into the normal culture media in the laboratory. So, you have to perform cell vial culture or inoculate into the embryonated egg. So, what will remain the diagnosis? Serological diagnosis mostly is performed, right? And how can you treat them? With the help of tetracyclines. Okay? This is common about all the rickettsial bacteria. Today we'll learn about rickettsial infections. Apart from that, there are two bacteria that were initially covered under rickettsia, but now they are separate bacteriums: Coxiella burnetii and Bartonellosis. Bartonella, there are 3 species that we'll study. They were first included into rickettsia, but now they are separated. What are rickettsia? They are small, non-motile, gram-negative cocobacilli. Okay? In certain species, they appear pleomorphic, able to change their shape, right? They are small, non-motile, pleomorphic cocobacilli, obligate intracellular. I told you why they are intracellular. They are not cultivable in any artificial media. So, you have to grow them in the cell lines or by animal or egg inoculation. They can be transmitted by vectors. What are these vectors? Louse, flea, tick or mite. Everybody know what are these? We have known this. They appear in the environment. We have seen these vectors, right? What is the site they generally infect? Vascular endothelial cells. This is their final target site. So what happens is, when they are attacking this endothelium of the cells, they are causing vasculitis. Then what will happen? The capillaries, the small and medium sized blood vessels, they'll leak and they'll cause inflammation underneath the skin. That leads to rash, that is manifested as rash on the human body, right? Because they are causing vasculitis of small blood vessels. They are classified into 2 families, Rickettsiaceae and family Anaplasmataceae. So, in Rickettsia, we'll study 2 genera, Rickettsia and Orientia, and in Anaplasma, we'll study 4 genera, that is Ehrlichia, Wolbachia, Anaplasma, Neurickettia. Out of this, certain bacteria, they live in synergy with certain parasites. We have already covered this in parasitology class. There were former members such as Coxiella and Bartonella, which are excluded now because Coxiella is not an arthropod borne, such as louse, flea or etc. They do not require all this. They are just transmitted by the inhalational mode. So, they are not covered under Rickettsia now. And Bartonella is not an obligate intracellular parasite. It can grow in cell-free media. You can grow Bartonella on blood agar for longer incubation period, for longer days if you incubate into the blood agar. So, Coxiella and Bartonella now separately studied, not under Rickettsia. Formerly, we included Rickettsia as viruses because they were very small in size and they were obligate intracellular. But now, we put them under bacterial classification because they possess gram-negative cell wall and contain both DNA and RNA, whereas viruses would just have DNA or RNA. They can multiply by binary fission. They are susceptible to antibacterial agents. Okay, then you can see them under the light microscope and you can help them back by bacterial filters. So, belonging to these properties, we have classified them under bacteria and not viruses. So rickettsia are obligate intracellular gram-negative cocobacilli that are bacteria. They are named after this person, Howard Taylor Ricketts, who discovered the Rocky Mountain spotted fever. And then, in the honor of von Provazek, one of the species was named after this person, Rickettsia provazeki, which is the causative agent of epidemic typhus. Both of these people, they have died during their study because they got infected by this bacteria. The two genera that we are going to study about, Rickettsia and Aurantia, they are also categorized on two groups, typhus group and spotted fever group. Okay, what is the difference in these two groups? You can see the main difference lies here. This typhus group shows no lymphadenopathy, whereas in spotted fever group you will see lymphadenopathy. Okay, now under typhus group there are two species, that is Rickettsia provazeki and Rickettsia typhi. Rickettsia provazeki, P for epidemic, P epidemic provazeki. It causes epidemic typhus. What is the vector? Vector is a louse. Everybody knows what is louse? In Weil-Felix reaction, you will see OX19 antibodies positive for OX19 antigen. I'll tell you what is OX19. Just remember that Rickettsia provazeki causes epidemic typhus. When there is relapse of epidemic typhus without vector in the person who was infected earlier and who was apparently treated, who became good after catching this Rickettsia provazeki, after a few years when he develops the recrudescence of this disease, that is known as Brill-Zinsser disease, okay, in which you do not require the vector, the bacterium is lying in the latent stage in your body, then suddenly when there is psychological or physical stress in the person, he develops this disease again and he is able to spread this disease through louse. If any louse is feeding on this person, he can give this disease, this bacterium to the louse, and that's how the outbreak will happen. That we consider as Brill-Zinsser disease, okay, which is the relapse of epidemic typhus. Then what is Rickettsia typhi? Rickettsia typhi is causing endemic typhus. What is the vector? Flea. Vector is a flea. Here you can see in Weil-Felix reaction, we are using OX19 antigen for diagnosis, okay. Then in spotted fever group, you can see that there is lymphadenopathy, okay. And here in Weil-Felix reaction, OX19 plus OX2 antigen gets added. Species are Rickettsia rickettsii causes Rocky Mountain fever. Vector are all ticks except in Rickettsia acari, which causes rickettsial pox. The vector is mite, okay. Here the vector is tick. There the vector was for epidemic typhus, vector was louse. For endemic typhus, vector was flea. Okay. Can you see here Rickettsia conuri causes Indian tick typhus, Rickettsia africae causes African tick bite fever, Rickettsia acari causes rickettsial pox. Everywhere you can see the lymph nodes, the characteristic eschar where these vector bite, you will see this necrotic vesicular necrosis, that is eschar. And I told you in the beginning, fever, rash and headache is common for all rickettsial diseases, okay. Except in Rickettsia acari, there will be no reaction in Weil-Felix reaction. What is Weil-Felix reaction? The thing is, this Rickettsia shares its outer LPS, lipopolysaccharide antigen, with protease antigen, okay. So, we are using protease derived antigen as a heterophile antigen to detect this disease. What will you find? This antigen will react with the antibodies in the patient's serum, okay. These are named as OX19, OX2 and OXK. What are these OX19, OX2, OXK? These are typically the strains of protease, okay. So, we are using the protease derived heterophile antigen for the detection in serology. Now, you see that for Rickettsia acari, the causative agent of rickettsial pox, there is no reaction in Weil-Felix. Then scrub typhus, Orencia sutsugamushi. This is under the genera Orencia. Orencia sutsugamushi causes scrub typhus. How does the name happen? Because this occurs in the shrubby areas where there is secondary vegetation around the trees. You can see where people are walking barefoot or they are not covering their legs till knee, and this mite, it attacks, especially bites on the legs, and scrub typhus happens. Okay, what is the antigen we are using here? OXK antigen. Coming to antigenic structure, its cell wall is similar to that of gram-negative bacteria. OMP antigen is specific, it is used for serodiagnosis, it is highly immunogenic. But LPS antigen is shared by certain strains of Proteus which we are using in the serodiagnosis. Okay. Transmission takes place through arthropod vectors. This is very important. Transmission takes place through arthropod vectors, spreads through the lymphatics to portal entry, then multiplies in the lesional lymph nodes and spread via the bloodstream. What is the ultimate target site? It is endothelial cells of vessels. That is why it is causing vascular inflammation and then rash. See, this adhesion to the endothelial cells takes place through outer membrane protein A and B that is present on the rickettsial cell. And then this organism is phagocytosed, but it resists the lysosomal killing and it survives under the acidic environment of this phagolysosome. Okay, we'll see how this is important for the treatment of the patient. What is it doing? Once it's engulfed and in phagolysosomic vacuoles, it is residing even though there is acidic environment. Multiplication takes place through binary fission. What is the generation time? It's about 9 to 12 hours. Then cell to cell spread by actin polymerization. I told you this is intracellular organism. Even without going out or causing lysis of the cell, it just transfers to the adjacent cell through actin polymerization, derives ATPs from this process. Okay. Coming to epidemic typhus, Rickettsia prowazekii, PP. See, epidemic typhus, positive agent Rickettsia prowazekii. What is the vector? This is the human body louse. What is its scientific name? Periculus humanus corporis. Humanus corporis lies on the body of the human. Okay, this is human body louse. Acquires organism while taking blood meal from the infected patient. The patient is already infected. This louse goes and feeds on the human body and takes up the Rickettsia prowazekii. Then how will the transmission happen? You know these louse can go from one person to another. When the louse bites, a person might scratch and then rubbing, scratching of abraded skin or mucosa contaminated by louse feces. Since the louse is inhabiting human body, it will also drop the feces, right? When you are rubbing or scratching it on the abraded skin or mucosa, this will invade your mucosa or skin and go inside your blood vessels. Or rarely this louse feces is used in bioterrorism, or it can be inhaled during the laboratory work. That is how the disease gets transmitted. What is the clinical manifestation? Acute febrile disease accompanied by headache, myalgia, eye discharge and rashes like this. What is the incubation period? About 1 to 2 weeks. It can complicate to interstitial pneumonitis, CNS involvement if left untreated. Risk factors is unhygienic condition and whenever there is crowding and louse population increases. But how they are maintained in the environment, since a person who is infected can only give it to the louse. So there are something called as lice and fleas that reside on the flying squirrel bodies. So they are maintained in the environment through these lice and fleas that reside on the squirrels. Where is the geographical distribution of this disease? You can find them in Africa and South America. Also, when we talked about Wilson's disease, during World War I, about 1 million of the soldiers were infected with this, and it caused the loss of large manpower. And since then, there had been, even after that, there had been certain occurrences. But what is the significance? During World War I, you could find the mention of this disease. I told you about the recrudescent Wilson's. Coming to endemic typhus. Endemic typhus was flea-borne. What was the causative bacterium? Rickettsia typhi. What is the vector? Rat flea. Rat flea, Xenoxella cheupis. Remember this name. Again, rubbing or scratching on skin or inhalation of dried feces by the rat flea. What is the reservoir here? There was a reservoir. What was the reservoir in Rickettsia prowazekii? Flying squirrels. Here it is rodents. That is why it is also known as murine typhus. Murine relates to the rats, rodents. Okay. That is why you name this endemic typhus as murine typhus also. It is more symptoms are more similar to epidemic typhus, but this is milder and rarely fatal. Plus, it can cause, you can find it in India also in the given cities, because it requires this warm tropic climates where there is high rat infestation. So you can see in these cities the climate is warm and the rodents are also found. Coming to Rocky Mountain spotted fever, it is caused by Rickettsia rickettsii. What is the vector? This is tick. It can transmit the disease. Happens to the tick bite. Here the bite is happening. Till now we were seeing that they were dealing with only the droppings of flea and louse. Here this tick is biting the human. Okay, and that's how it is transferring the Rickettsia rickettsii. Incubation period is about 4 to 14 days. Fever, headache, rash, frequent myalgia and anorexia. The rashes, they appear on the extremities more than the trunk. Okay. Initially, this rash is maculopapular and later it becomes hemorrhagic. Complications, though they appear late, this can lead to DIC, interstitial pneumonitis and CNS. Till now this was very common. Also myocarditis and renal failure gets added. It is one of the most fatal rickettsial diseases found in the mountain climbers also. Coming to Indian tick typhus. What is the causative agent? Rickettsia conuri, transmitted by tick bite. Similar to that of Rocky Mountain spotted fever. What is the geographical distribution? Found in Asia, Africa and Southern Europe. In India, it is widespread in these cities. Coming to rickettsial pox. Rickettsial pox had no serological reaction with any of the wheel felix antigens. Causative agent is Rickettsia acari. What can you see here? It is transmitted by the infected mite. What is the difference? Can you see? This tick has 4 pair of legs. This is mite, this is different. Till now you were seeing that there were maculopapular lashes. In rickettsial pox you can see that there is a eschar formation wherever the mite bites. So what else can you see? This thing is known as eschar, where there is necrosis over the vesicular region where the vector had beaten, and regional lymphadenopathy is also observed. We discussed about wheel felix reaction, Proteus antigen we are using here. In epidemic and endemic typhus, you saw there is raised OX19 antibody. In tick-borne spotted fever, there were raised OX19 and OX2 antibodies. Just remember, there was tick-borne spotted fever. Whenever there is Rickettsia acari, rickettsial pox involved, which is mite vector transmitted, you will see no reaction. In case of scrub typhus, there was raised OXK antibodies. Okay. What is the gold standard test? It remains indirect immunofluorescence assay, and you can also use indirect immunoperoxidase assay or ELISA for detection of antigen or antibodies. Or you can go for histological examination from the cutaneous biopsy sample. Wherever there is rash, you can take sample from there, or you can inoculate them into the cell lines or embryonated egg, and you can detect through PCR using 16S RNA gene. What is the treatment? Doxycycline for 1 to 5 days, and you can use chloramphenicol alternatively. How can you prevent this? Vector control strategies are to be used. Control of rodents and other animals that are reservoirs of these bacteriums. You can improve the personal hygiene, but no vaccine is yet available. Coming to scrub typhus. Scrub typhus is caused by Orientia genera of Rickettsiaceae family. What is the causative agent? Orientia tsutsugamushi. It differs from both Rickettsia genetically and through the cell wall composition. It lacks LPS. Now you would say that if it is lacking LPS, how do you see antibodies OXK raised in the patient, which react with the heterophile protease antigen? So that is what separates it from the Rickettsia, because it is able to cause antigens that can react with the antibodies, OXK antibodies, that can react with the heterophile protease antibodies as well, right? Where can you see them? Where there is scrub vegetation consisting of low-lying trees and bushes. So people who work in the forest are more prone to the scrub typhus. It is transmitted by the bite of trombiculoid mite larvae. This is a larval stage. Okay, once this bug develop into the adult, it will not attack you. It becomes harmless. But this is a chigger. It is also known as chigger or. So this larvae is the only stage that feed on humans. What do we call this process? This is chiggerosis. They can maintain the organism, they can maintain this Orientia tsutsugamushi in the transovarian transmission. It means when they give offspring, that offspring will carry the disease from the mother mite through vertical transmission. Okay, you can see this eschar at the site of bite, regional lymphadenopathy. Initially this rash is maculopapular, later it develops like this. Then fever, headache, myalgia, cough and GI symptoms can be seen. What are the complications? Similarly as before, interstitial pneumonia and CNS complications. Can you see this? These people are more prone to scrub typhus. There is something called as zoonotic tetrad that is needed for the propagation of this disease. What is that? Trombiculoid mite that you saw before in the picture. Small mammals on which these mites survive, on whose bodies, such as mites, rats, they are present here in the shrubs. Secondary scrub vegetation in the forest and wet season. Wet season because that is when these mites lay eggs. Okay. So this is the zoonotic tetrad that is required for disease propagation. Now worldwide scenario you can see here, this is Tsutsugamushi triangle. It extends from where? From Australia to Japan, Russia and Pakistan in the west. But this disease is not confined to this area now, it has spread worldwide, right? What is the treatment? Doxycycline is the drug of choice. You can give azithromycin or chloramphenicol also. Mainstay of diagnosis is antibody detection. Which antibodies? IgM antibodies will appear by the end of first week and IgG by the end of second week. In case of Brill-Zinsser reaction also, there will be no detection, there will be detection of IgG antibodies in high level. more than IgM because it's a reactivation of the disease, right? In case of epidemic typhus. Here what you can see, IgM antibodies by the end of first week and IgG by the end of second week. Wheel-Felix test is non-specific, I told you, but you can see the OXK antigen antibodies growing. Gold standard serological test is indirect immunofluorescence antibody assay. You can go for PCR or you can go for ELISA. In family Anaplasma there are 4 intracellular organisms, Ehrlichia, Wolbachia, Anaplasma and Neorickettsia. All of them are capable of causing disease to hematopoietic cells. So, they are also vector borne, they are also transmitted by the ticks, except this Neorickettsia sinetsu is caused by ingestion of fish that is carrying infected flukes. What is fluke? Trematode. Okay. This Neorickettsia is by ingestion of fish carrying infected flukes, except all other they are transmitted by the ticks. For diagnosis, you will see this inclusion bodies in the cells that reside within phagosome, and they'll produce this elementary bodies. This is the initial bodies, and eventually they will produce the segregation of these inclusion bodies that we name as morula inside the neutrophils, okay, which you can stain by Giemsa. This is the Giemsa stain peripheral blood film. Here you can see inside neutrophil there is a morula formation. What is the treatment? Doxycycline. Q fever. Q fever caused by Coxiella burnetii. For a long time the causative agent for Q fever was not known. So we named it as a query fever or Q fever. So what is the source of infection? Zoonotic human infection, cattle, sheep and goats. So it can occur in humans as well as other common cattle that we use for animal husbandry. But the transmission takes place not through the bite of any vector, but by inhalation of infected dust from soil previously contaminated by urine and feces of the infected animal, okay, and rarely by the ingestion of contaminated milk. So this was the only disease that we studied today which did not have any vector involvement. What is the transmission? Inhalation of infected dust by the droppings of deceased animal, okay, and rarely by the ingestion of contaminated milk from the infected animal. Incubation period ranges from 3 to 30 days. Acute Q fever will show you hepatitis, interstitial pneumonia, fever, CNS involvement. Chronic Q fever develops from months to 2-3 years later and presents as endocarditis. The burnetii is a small pleomorphic gram-negative cocobacillus. It is extremely fastidious and very hazardous. So where do you process this? In biosafety level 3 laboratory. What is biosafety level 3 laboratory? Wherever there is airborne transmission is present and organism has the higher mortality rate. What is good example for BSL-3 laboratory other than this? Very common example, Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Also, coronavirus. You had to process it in which laboratory? Biosafety level 3 laboratory. Okay. Antibody detection can be done by indirect immunofluorescence assay. Other methods, again PCR. We can detect through DNA detection. You give doxycycline in case of acute Q fever, but before that in chronic Q fever you have to give hydroxychloroquine. I told you these organisms, they reside in the acidic phagolysosomic environment. So hydroxychloroquine will neutralize this acidic environment and let doxycycline cause bactericidal effect. If you give doxycycline in chronic cases, it will not work. You have to add hydroxychloroquine to neutralize this phagolysosomic acidic environment which is suitable for the bacterial growth. This Q-Wax available in Australia, which is recommended for the occupationally exposed workers such as veterinary doctors, animal rearers, and you can follow good animal husbandry practices or pasteurization of milk before consuming by flash method, 72 degrees Celsius for 20 seconds followed by rapid cooling. This you can practice for milk decontamination. Coming to Bartonellosis, it has 3 distinct vectors for 3 distinct species. It is also fastidious, facultatively intracellular gram-negative bacteria. It invades the mammalian cells and RBCs. There are 3 important human pathogens. What are the names? Bartonella hensleyi, Bartonella quintana and Bartonella bacilliformis. Out of this, Bartonella hensleyi can be transmitted by the exposure to the cat scratch. If there is a cat which is scratching or biting you, there might be a Bartonella which can get into your skin. What will it cause? It will cause painless papule at the site of scratch and lymphadenopathy. You will see that there is a painless papule and the nearest lymph nodes will become larger in size and inflamed. Then they can cause bacillary angiomatosis, that is neovascular lesions that involve skin and other organs, or bacillary pileosis. What is this? This is cyst, blood-filled cyst in the solid organs such as spleen or liver. Angioproliferative disorder involving liver and spleen. This is because of Bartonella hensleyi by exposure to cat scratch. It is also known as cat scratch disease. Then Bartonella quintana, it is transmitted by louse. It will show you trench fever. What is trench fever? It is also known as 5th day fever because fever reoccurs after every 5 days, and it can lead to all these complications: bacillary angiomatosis, chronic bacteremia, endocarditis. This is also commonly seen among the soldiers where there is louse infestation in the camps because it also spreads by the louse. Then there is Bartonella bacilliformis, transmitted by the vector sandfly. Where else was the sandfly taking part? Which disease? Where else did you study about sandfly? Okay, transmitted by vector sandfly, again Bartonellosis. It produces in the 2 phases. You can see Oria fever or Carrion's disease. What happens here? The systemic illness, bacteremia, fever, systemic disease. Then it subsequently causes verruga peruana. This is verruga peruana. What is this? This is a blood-filled cystic sac on the skin which bleeds when they are ruptured. When you touch them, when they are ruptured, they start bleeding. Okay, it occurs in 2 phases. The disease is biphasic. Other complications, endocarditis. Okay, this was about Bartonellosis, 3 species, 3 different vectors. What is the laboratory diagnosis? You can take specimens from blood, lymph node, and you can take it from skin biopsy and stain it with the Warthin starry silver nitrate stain. Here, through immunofluorescence staining, you can detect Bartonella hensleyi from the lymph nodes. Bartonella can also be grown on the blood agar at 37 degrees and incubated for 12 to 15 days. After 12 to 15 days of incubation, you might be able to grow Bartonella in blood agar. Antibody detection as previous. Again, PCR, this universal 16th network RNA unit you can use for PCR detection. Azithromycin is given in extensive lymphadenopathy cases in cat scratch disease for 5 days, and for bacillary angiomatosis you can give macrolide or doxycycline for 3 months. Prolonged treatment. Okay.